I'm Steve Lefevre, founder and chairman of Business Resource Services. We provide information, education, and motivation to owners, managers, and advisors of independent business throughout the world. Our mission, to create and deliver tools and resources that will guide you to improve business performance in a constantly changing economy, and to assist you in overcoming what is consistently the greatest knowledge gap for business owners: finance. The Profit Mastery series is designed to help you close this gap by increasing your financial IQ. In just a few moments, you'll be joining me in a video seminar designed to demystify finance and, more importantly, give you the tools and a process to manage the key drivers of both profits and cash flow, along with the confidence to apply these tools immediately in your own business. People of all ages, experience levels, and business backgrounds attend this course. The participants and examples in the video class may not be a perfect fit for you and your group, but with your facilitator and your participant guide, the information will be tailored to your needs. And with technology changing so rapidly, I suspect many of you are receiving this in the privacy of your own home or in your office in a self-study environment. No matter whether you are a business owner or manager, commercial banker, accountant, or business coach, you'll find the information applicable. Hundreds of thousands of people have attended this course, and they found it gave them a perspective that changes forever the way they look at their business. I promise the information will be insightful and enjoyable to receive. We'll dispel forever the myth that finance is boring, and you'll adopt a new attitude that finance is fun as well as powerful. So come on and join me now as we take an enlightening journey through the financial cycle of a business, and I introduce you to the powerful principles of profit mastery, creating value and building wealth. So let's talk about business owners. I have this profile in my mind that stuck with me for well over 3 decades of working with business owners. And I really have an idea. This profile is kind of interesting to me, and it seems like it's consistent all over the world. I've had the opportunity to present this program on 3 or 4 different continents in 15 or 20 different countries, and it's always the same. It goes like this. If there are 2 people involved in a business out there, traditionally one person knows how to make it, and the other person knows how to what?
Sell it.
I heard someone say spend it. That is the wrong answer. That's family finance. Selling it, right? Making it and selling it. That's what people do who start businesses. The financial side of the business is often left to whom? The accountant, the banker, your spouse, or maybe nobody. We'll just hope it works. Now, there's a lot of recent research that indicates that hope is not a strategy, right? So the thing is, where does the financial side, who takes care of it? And when does it get taken care of, and why? I think it has to do with attitudes. And I think those attitudes are important because it's human nature to do what you do well, isn't it? When do we do what we don't do so well? Later, right? And when does later come? Never if you plan it too late, exactly. Never if you plan it properly, right? It also comes about in the attitudes we have about finance itself. Finance is, what's the first word that comes into your mind?
Boring.
Don't sugarcoat it. Tell it like it is. Finance is boring. Why do people believe finance is boring? Why is that? Because it is? Is that what someone said? They don't what? They don't understand it. What I've learned is, it's not what we're going to do in this program, Profit Mastery, creating value and building wealth in your business. We're going to take a trip through the financial structure of a company. In my mind, it's not boring at all. It's a terrifically exciting trip, and it will give us some insights into how that money flows and how we can manage it. That's what I really want to do. What I have learned, although it's not finance that's boring, anything that affects your wallet ought to be of interest to most of us, don't you think? But it's financial people who are boring. That's the problem. So what we're going to try to do is make this topic, finance, come alive. We've got some case studies that we're going to work through together to illustrate the points. But we're going to try to make it come alive, all right? That's kind of our goal here. What else? Anything else about finance? I think sometimes people are afraid of it. Why? We fear what we don't understand. And our job, our goal, my goal today, is to really, well, 3 goals, really. One is to demystify finance, to really take the mystery out of the numbers. We'll give a plain English process, okay? To give that process, simple, keep it simple. We'll work through it and give you the confidence to apply these tools in your own business when you leave. And we'll work through the case studies to do that. I think another reason this finance issue, we develop attitudes about it is when we go see our accountant at the end of the year, after the end of the year, what happens? We go in to see the accountant, and what does the accountant say? Hopefully. Congratulations, you made a profit. And what are the responses that we give them to the business community? I do a lot of work with accountants as well, talking about finance as a communication tool, not so much understanding the numbers, because accountants are supposed to do that, but how to communicate with us in the business community. What are the 2 main responses accountants get from us? Number 1, if we made a profit,
Where is it?
Where is it? What's the line from Jerry Maguire? Show me the money. If we made a profit, where is it? Is it possible to have profits and no money? Yeah, we'll talk about that. So it really focuses on, when we say that, we've failed to distinguish between profits and what? Cash flow. And those will be 2 items that we talk about that have to interact in our business with different drivers. What's the other one? That's the second most popular one. What's the most popular response accountants get? Tawny, you said it.
How much taxes do I have to pay?
Make the profits go away. And they always go like this. Watch carefully. The fingers will never leave the hands. What profit would you like? No profit, no what? Tax. And in the end, a lot of the business owners I talk to, what did they call that? If we could get the tax down to 0, what did we call that?
It's a good year. Success.
A good year. Success. But did you make any money? Don't matter, as long as I pay no what? Taxes. Got to focus on profits to build a company, and we're going to see how we can't do that without keeping those profits and reinvesting them in the company, all right? Now, you've got the profits down to 0, then what happens? That's when you went and saw your accountant, usually by January, February, March, whatever. What happens then in April? You've paid your taxes, and now if you have a line of credit at the bank or you want to borrow at the bank, you go in to see the banker. Once upon a time, I worked in the banking business, calling on business owners, and every time it happened, every time spring came around, we'd go in and we'd have a meeting to do what? Renew the credit line. I want to renew it. I want to start one. I want to renew it. I want to increase it. Well, what do you need? What do we need? What do we need to see if that's going to happen? If I put myself in the position of the banker, what did I need to see? I need to see a set of financial statements, right? And you've got one that shows you made how much?
0.
Nothing. And so what I began to think was, on the way to see me for the review, my customer would go, uh-oh, I don't have any profits. And they'd swing by the accountant's office, and what would they say to him or her? Make the profits reappear. Or maybe what they'd say is, I got this set of statements, give me the other one. And I began to believe that my customers kept 3 sets of books. One for the IRS, or any other taxing agency anywhere we go in the world, one for the bank, and the real one. And then I discovered some of us actually keep a 4th set of books. This is the one we keep for the ex-spouse. Point being, which set of books? And the real point is, who's the worst person to kid? Yourself, right? If you don't know what's going on, I'm not sure about what's going on there. The other thing we learned in banking very quickly was a number, 80%. What's that number? 80%, what is it? Of all the businesses that start every year, within 7 years, what percentage go away? 80% go away. Most of the time, it has to do with something related to not knowing how to make, they know how to make it, and they know how to sell it. It has to do with understanding the financial side of the business. That's what our program is all about. Profit Mastery is understanding how money flows through a business. If you hear something, you'll retain a little bit. If you see it, you'll retain a little bit more. And if you actually do it, you'll retain even more. So you'll hear it, you'll see it, and we've got some case studies here. The person sitting next to you is your partner for this program. If you haven't already done so, turn and say hello. Introduce yourself. We'll be working through these together, so keep in mind that it's not too late to change in case you've got a dud. Think of this journey as really telling a story. The story of what? When we look at a set of financial statements, what's the story we're telling? Story of the business. It's the story of the business. Just like writing a book. We do it as we go through year after year after year. It's just like writing a book with one exception. We can tell this story with only what? 2 pages. If you're an author, J.K. Rowling, who's she? Harry Potter, 735 pages to figure out what Harry's up to. We can do it in what? I can name that story in 2 pages. If we have the right tools to extract the story, and it's interesting because most of the stories we see would be written in English or German or French. What's the language of our story? Numbers. I think that might be something also that has an impact on people. I don't do what? Numbers. I don't do windows. I don't do numbers. But finance is numbers. And this is one of those things when we put our financial manager hat on, it's one of those things as an owner, you can't get rid of it. It's there whether you choose to accept it or not. So what we want to do is give you the tools to really focus on that process. Some of us rent things, some of us deliver food, some of us sell time. But in the way money flows through a business, what I've found over the last 25 years is there are way more similarities than differences. And it's those similarities that we want to focus on in this course. So I went to 30 of my colleagues, like I said, I said, give me your top 10. Cut them into pieces. I had 300 pieces, and I started dumping them in buckets. So we'd say, what are the buckets? I came up with 7 buckets. 7 buckets, 7 steps to maximize value. And that's what we built that became this course. First step, plan properly, not only when the business is begun, but all the way through. Do most business owners have a plan? Do most business owners have a plan? I believe they do. Where do they carry it? In their head. A little bit hard to download. So what I wanted them to do was what? Write it down. Secondly, failure to monitor financial position. Secondly, monitor financial position. We get financial statements at the end of the year. It was common for my customers, they'd whip through look to the bottom of the second page, and if there was no red ink, they'd go, "Whew, we're okay for another year." Way more information in there than that. Way more information in there. That's where the story is if we have the tools to read it. Number 3, understanding the interrelation of price, volume, and cost. Everyone knows their costs, don't they? I'm not sure about that. When I ask people over the years, who sets the price in your business? What response would I get?
The market.
The competition. Well, shoot, if you follow the competition, what does that presume? They know what they're doing. Now, I grew up in the American West, and I learned if you follow a dead horse or a lost horse, you don't get home, do you? Failure to manage CF. CF, cash flow. Is it possible to have profits and no money? Is it possible to have money and no profits? Absolutely. So we've got planned properly, we've got monitor financial position, we've got understand the relationship of price, volume, and cost, manage cash flow. Everybody wants their business to what? Grow. Is it easy to grow? Sometimes it's easy to grow what? The sales. Is it possible that growth is hard to do? It's not hard sometimes to make the sales. What turns out to be hard? Is it possible for a company, I guess this is the way to say it, is it possible for a company to grow too fast?
Yes.
Everyone says yes. That's a common response. And what does that usually mean? It usually means that something's happening where the sales are going up, but we keep running out of money. This relationship, and I think there's some myths out there that hopefully we can address as well as we go through this program. Number 1, if I have more sales, I will have more money. I will have more profit. Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true at all. In fact, if every time we had the sales go up, we had more money, more cash, what institution wouldn't we need? Banks. Banks are here because that doesn't happen, and I think that's one of those big disconnects between the financial community and the bank and the business community, is what happens with growth and how do we fund it. We've got a great tool here to focus on that. And in each of these sections, we've got a tool and a case study that will demonstrate how to use them and how they apply. 6th piece, failure to borrow properly. 6th piece, borrowing properly. What does that mean? What's the most common question when we talk about borrowing from a bank or any other source? How much do I need? And that's a really important one. But equally as important is another question we figured out about 10 years ago. How? How does that go on the balance sheet? Long-term, short-term, intermediate term? Getting it structured right, it turns out, is just as important as figuring out how much. And together, if we can get both those right, what have we done? We've made the job a whole lot easier for whom? Anyone who's trying to lend us money. What we have is this communication process of two sides of the desk, the financial community and the business community. It's not them coming over here, it's not us going over there. What we're trying to do is meet in the middle. And what's missing there? Communication. So again, I see finance as a language of communication. And finally, our last step, failure to plan for transition. Failure to plan for transition. The way we're going to work with that section is really simple. If you don't do the first 6 right, you don't need the 7th step. Isn't that right? 80% of the businesses out there don't need the 7th step, do they? But I believe if we applied consistently across the entire business community these principles, maybe there's still a little of my idealism left in me, but I believe that we could take that 80% failure rate and do what? Shrink it down. And we wouldn't have to shrink it much. 1%, 2%, 3%. and we'd see a whole different economy. Now, like I said, maybe that's a little idealistic and nobody can control the economy, but what can we control, each of us who's involved in a business? We can't control what's going on out there in the broad economy. We don't individually set the prime rate. We aren't individually responsible for whether the economy is going up or whether it's going down. But what can we control? What do we have the power to control? Our own business. And these profit mastery tools are just that. We think of them as knowledge, and of course, knowledge is what? Power, absolutely. Those are our 7 steps. What we'll do is we'll go through them one at a time. We'll work through a case study in each of the cases. And by the time we get to the end, you'll have a toolkit of resources to focus on the financial side of the business. Now, one of the things we do know is being in business is a lot like being in school, except for one difference. In business, you take the test first. So what I've got now is a test for you. In your case study materials, you've got a little quiz, and what I'd like you to do is pull that quiz out, answer the questions. There's no right or wrong answers here. It's just to get us thinking dollars and cents. And when we come back, we'll focus on the answers and we'll be off and running, all right?